Girls, now the question, this is restrictions on variables. We've just gone to another textbook, to the New Century textbook, chapter 4, page 138. You've all been sent this in an email. Question 4, it says in the formula area equals pi r squared, explain why there are no restrictions on r. Actually, I think there are restrictions on r. Girls, that's the formula for the area of a circle. You tell me about r. R has to be what? Yeah, r's got to be positive. Now, if r, girls, was 0, would you even have a circle? No. So, can r equal 0? No. I don't think it can. So, I think that r, it says have the restrictions on the variables r and... Oh, okay. Okay. All right, but as you see it there, we know that, you know how pi is the number 3.14 and r squared, even if r was negative, when you do r squared, you'll always get a positive number. So what we know is that a will always be greater than 0 because, so let's say a is greater than or equal to 0 because, why? Pi is greater than 0 and r squared is always greater than or equal to 0. So for part A, it says in the formula a equals pi r squared, the way that it's written there, it says explain why there are no restrictions on r, but a is always greater than or equal to 0. So what we do, we're looking at what's out the front. Let's pretend we didn't know it was... Yes, it does. It does. But let's say we didn't know it was the area of a circle. So let's say we didn't know it was the area of a circle, but I'd be happy with you saying r is a radius. It's got to be greater than 0, otherwise you don't have a circle that exists. It can't be negative because you can't have negative lengths. But they're actually doing that in part C, talking about the r. So as it stands now, if you didn't know what r stood for, if you didn't know that a equals pi r squared is the area of a circle, if you just looked at that, you would say a is always greater than or equal to 0 because pi is greater than 0 because it's 3.1415, etc. And r squared is greater than or equal to 0. Because this is if you didn't know it was the formula for the area of a circle. All right, let's say I had a formula, s equals pi times x squared, and it's not the area of a circle. X squared is always positive or 0, and pi is 3.14, so your answer would always be greater than or equal to 0. Now, it says in part B to make r the subject. So we've got make r the subject. So let's make r the subject. What do you get?
R equals a minus.
No. R squared is not a minus. What is the pi attached to the r squared with a times? It's a divided by pi. Girls, it's only plus or minus when you pick something up and throw it over the other side. Here you've got to divide. So girls, what does r equal? Plus or minus the square root of a over pi. Girls, I need the plus or minus. So, it says to make r the subject of the formula in part 1. And then it says, have the restrictions on the variables r and a changed? Girls, can you take the square root of a negative number? Okay, so, girls, this is a bit tricky. We know that a over pi has to be greater than or equal to 0. Why? Because you cannot square root a negative number. So, girls, it depends on how the formula is arranged as to what the restrictions are. Cannot square root a negative. Yes, it can. You can square root 0. Okay? This is you not knowing what a equals pi r squared means. So we're just pretending a is pi r squared is not the area of a circle formula. We don't know what that formula is. If we're just looking at it in a purely mathematical way without applying it to real life, cannot square root a negative. Cannot square root a negative number. Cannot square root negative number. So girls, if a over pi is greater than or equal to 0, girls, what do I do with this pi? How do I get a on its own? Girls, how do I get rid of the divide? Times by pi, and you get, what's 0 times pi? No. Girls, no. The only time you flip the sign is if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative.
Wait, Miss, why are we timing it by 0?
Well, I'm not. Just rearranged. R is plus or minus the square root of A over pi. When you come to use your calculator and you come to square root 0, you can do it. So square root of 0 works. Square root of a positive number works. But square root of a negative number gives you an error. Because square root means what number times itself equals what's under the square root sign. So if you try square root of negative 16, it doesn't work. But if you do square root of 16, your answer could be positive 4. Well, actually, we never give a negative answer to a square root. That's why we do plus or minus the square root. In mathematics, if you've got square root of 16, you always write positive 4. If I know, for example, that r squared is 16, that's why I write r is plus or minus square root of 16, because it'll be plus 4 or minus 4. So in mathematics, when you do the square root, you always put a positive answer, but the plus or minus out the front takes care of whether it can be positive or negative for your answer. All right, so when you square root something on your calculator, you cannot square root a negative. All right? So this bit under here, a over pi, has to be greater than or equal to 0 because you cannot square root a negative number. So if I want to get a on its own, this is a divided by pi. Opposite of dividing by pi is to times by pi. So that means a has to be positive. Girls, for a over pi to be positive, a has to be positive. Because a positive divided by a positive is positive. All right, you have to know that when you square root something, you can only square root a positive number or 0. So you had to put that in yourself. So they're saying, what are the restrictions on a? So you look at the square root sign and you say, whenever you square root, you can only square root 0 or a positive. So the a over pi has to be positive or 0. That's why I've got greater than or equal to 0. All right, I'm putting that in. All right, my other option is that a can be anything. No, a can't be anything. A's got to be positive or 0 because, girls, please, a positive divided by a positive is a positive answer. 0 divided by pi is 3.1, right? 0 divided by 3.1 is 0. You're allowed to square root 0. But I couldn't do something like negative 2 over pi and square root it. It won't work. All right, so a has to be 0 or it's got to be positive. So a is greater than or equal to 0. Girls, please. So the restrictions on the variable a has changed. The restrictions on r has changed as well. Girls, if I've got, what sort of answer can I get for r now? If you look at this. Girls, I know this is tricky. Girls, can r be negative now? I can get plus some number or r is minus some number. So yeah, so I've got that r, I think r can be any number. Can be negative, positive, or 0.
Wait, Miss, the restrictions on a haven't changed.
Oh, no, it hasn't. Has not changed. Good. Thank you. Has not changed. R has changed. R has changed because R can be all real R. We write all real R. In other words, it can be the negative numbers, it can be 0, or it can be the positive numbers. Can be negative, positive, or 0. So we say that R can be all real numbers. That's how you say it. So girls, if you want to say R can be negative, positive, or 0, you just say it can be all real numbers. Because no imaginary. Shh. All right, now part C. I know this is a bit tricky, girls. I really want everyone focusing.
Was that not part B?
No, that was part B. If this is now the area of a circle, now talk about the normal restrictions that you would use in a common sense way. You would say R has to be. So if that's the area of circle, This is what you're used to. The other way was just looking at the values in a formula if you don't know that it's the area of a circle, and just looking at it purely mathematical, but not in a practical way. All right? But if this is the area of a circle, then R has to be what? Greater than 0, and A has to be greater than 0. Because if A was equal to 0, you wouldn't have a circle. All right. So what are the restrictions on R and A? Do these restrictions change R? I couldn't, because that's tricky. So, girls, okay, question 5A, we've got this formula, y equals the square root of 16 minus x squared. When you see a square root sign, tell me about that 16 minus x squared. Can it be 0? Yes, it can. You're allowed to do the square root of 0, you're allowed to do the square root of a positive number, but you are not allowed to do the square root of a negative. So you say 16 minus x squared has to be greater than 0. Or equal to. Good. Now you haven't learnt how to do this. So we haven't learnt how to,
Is that a difference of 2 squares?
it is, so let's do that. 4 minus x, 4 plus x is greater than or equal to 0. But girls, you haven't learned how to sketch this. Now, what we will do, but we'll do it by number line. So girls, if that was equal to 0, if it was equal to 0, what would be your values of x? 4 and minus 4. So girls, if that was equal to 0, your values...
Where did you get the first line from?
Well, no, when you see a square root, what are the restrictions on those values? Whatever I square root, I'm allowed to square root of 0 and I'm allowed to square root of positive. In mathematics, to say that the 16 minus x squared has to be 0 or positive, you write 16 minus x squared is greater than or equal to 0. That's how you say it. It means it's 0 or bigger than 0, or it's positive. Now, that's a difference of 2 squares, so we can factorize it. Now, girls, you haven't learned how to do this yet. This is going to be in our next topic to solve that. So what we do, let's pretend that it's an equal 0. If it was equal to 0, wouldn't your answers be x is minus 4 and x is 4? Now, what we're going to do, I want to test, because you haven't learned how to sketch these and do this, we are doing it next term. We're going to do it by substituting. Now, if x was 0, so what I've got 2 points here. I've got an inequality, so my answer can't just be 2 numbers, negative 4 and 4. I need an inequality, like x is greater than 4 or x is less than negative 4. Yeah, I can. I'm just, girls. Yeah.
So x equals minus 4, but it says 4 minus x.
No. Yeah, but if I put this equal to 0, what would your answers be?
Oh, 4 minus x.
4?
Equals 0.
No, wouldn't that have to be a 4 there? 4 minus 4. So you know how we do this?
X equals 4, x equals minus 4. Yeah.
So x is 4 or x is minus 4. We've done those before, haven't we? Right? We've done that before. Now, this is an inequality. So what I do, I just get a little number line and I plot negative 4 and positive 4. And then I decide, because it's an inequality, it's got to be between values or outside of values. So what I do, I test a point here between these two. Now, if x can't be just 4 or minus 4. It's got to be a range of values, like x is greater than 4, or x lies between negative 4 and 4. Whenever you solve inequalities, like just look down here. If I give you this equation, negative 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 7. How do you do this, girls?
You move this up.
I move what?
Swap this.
No, I can move. I want to do this way because I want to show you the negative one. What do I move first?
5.
And I make 7 minus 5. So, and now what do I do to get x on its own? I divide by what? Negative 2. So because I'm dividing by a negative, I need to flip the inequality sign. You know when you divide? When you divide by negative 2,
Did you change the sign?
yeah, I just did.
No, what she's saying is the sign in front of the 2.
Where did you get the 2x plus 5 from?
I just made this up. I'll just show you. I'll tell you what I mean by an inequality. and why your answer is not a single number.
Have we done inequalities?
Yes.
When did we do that?
I need...
We did like the dots and the
All right, girls, can I keep going?
Yeah.
If what I'm trying to say, girls, see up here how this is an inequality and you don't just get a single answer or two numbers as an answer? Right, I'm just showing you with a normal inequality, with a normal, I'm just picking up any question. I'm just doing an inequality question. Girls, I can't find where to stop this recording, and okay, if you have an inequality, what I'm trying to show you is if you've got minus 2x is greater than or equal to 2, you divide by negative 2 because you're dividing by a negative, you turn the inequality sign around. Do you get that? So your answer is x is less than or equal to 1. Did you notice my answer is just not a single number? My answer is x is less than or equal to 1. In other words, it could be negative 1, sorry, negative 1, it could be negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 100. So, because I'm dividing by negative 2.
Yeah, but why doesn't it become positive 2?
Because 2 over negative 2 is negative 1. No, but you're... No, you're not picking it up and taking it over. That's not adding or subtracting. When you divide by...
We're dividing both sides by negative 2.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that with times as well? Miss?
Yes.
If I
Any kind of negative number.
Yes. If you... The rules are for inequalities. If you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, you flip the inequality sign.
so if it was x over negative 2 and I want to take it to the other side,
All right.
it becomes 2 times.
So if you've got this... If you've got x over negative 2 is greater than or equal to 7, you go x, are you multiplying by negative 2?
Yes.
So I've got x divided by negative 2. I'm multiplying by negative 2 because I'm multiplying by a negative.
Okay.
I change...
Whenever there's a negative involved, you just flip the sign.
Yeah, but only when you multiply or divide by a negative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Shh. So girls, that was another thing I want to teach today anyway. So when multiplying or dividing, we did this last year. Inequalities by a negative, flip the sign. Now, girls, the reason, you're probably thinking, what's she doing and why is she doing it? The reason I'm doing these inequality questions is to show you that you don't have one answer, you have a range. Your answer is an inequality. Girls, at the moment, I cannot stop this recording. So, I can't, I wouldn't even know. Why can't I find it? See how it's, I think I've lost it actually. Good. So I'm sick of it. No, there's a problem with it. There's a problem with something. All right, girls, I really need to. So, girls, can you see when you're dealing with inequalities, your answer is not a single answer? That's what I'm trying to show you here.
Did we finish the question before?
No. I got sidetracked. Shh. Because people don't understand why the answer is just not a number. So I'm just showing you with inequalities why your answers are not just single numbers. They're arranged. So let's go back up here.
1 second, miss. When we're going back up there, it says
Now,
it says 4 minus x. Oh, are you writing it down?
Yeah, I'm writing down the little box.
shh. Am I recording? Wouldn't even know what I'm doing here. If I press record, it's already open. I just can't, I can't.
Flick your trackpad up with like 4 fingers. No, like
It's not enabled.
I don't know what's going on. I really...
Yes, you know it says 4 minus x, 4 plus x is greater than...
Right, yes. So, girls, because this is a quadratic inequality. It's not a linear one like these. These are just one x in there. That's just got an x.
Equal to 0 now, like how...
No. Because I need to... When you've got greater than or equal to 0, you've got two things. Equal to 0 or greater than 0. That's the answer to the equal 0 part. Wait. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Now, in other words, girls, either My answers are going to lie between here. This is how it works with quadratics. Or it's going to lie outside there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try x equals 0 in here. So if I try x equals 0 in there, what do I get?
You get
4. 4 minus 0 is what? 4. 4 plus 0 is 4. Is 4 times 4 greater than or equal to 0?
Yes.
4 times 4 is 16, and that's greater than or equal to 0. So therefore, your solution lies between -4 and 4. So your answer is -4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 4. Now, I know that's really, girls, this is year 11 work. Now, I'll just show you another way of doing this. I'll show you an easier way by common sense. So girls, you knew that, girls, so because it's a quadratic, do you understand why it's a quadratic? It's got an x squared and it's an inequality. Whenever you've got a quadratic inequality, you can solve it normally by putting it equal to 0, but I'll tell you now, your answer is either going to lie between those 2 points or outside of the 2 points. So what we did is, and the reason is when we sketch the parabola, and you'll learn about this in another week or two, this will be more understandable for you in another week or so. But our answer is not just a single value, because we know with inequalities you get a range of values in your answer. So what we do, here are our 2 points. If it was equal to 0, we test and try any point between -4 and 4, which would be 0, and we put it up into our equation, either this one or that equation. Okay? So 16 minus 0 is 16. Yes, that's greater than or equal to 0. That works. So therefore, your x values must lie between -4 and 4. If I tried x is 5 out here,
Wait, where did we get 16? Oh.
if I try it here, I can substitute in there or here. If I try x is 5 out here, what's 16 minus 5 squared? 16 minus 25, -9. Is that greater than 0? No. So the answer's not out here. It's got to be in there. So it'll either be between your 2 points or outside of them. All right? Now, if you... Girls, because it's something new that you're learning. Ladies, just... Because I just tested a point inside. If x is 0, doesn't x lie between -4 and 4?
Yeah.
Just give me any number between -4 and 4. 0 or 2. 16 minus 2 squared. What's so 16 minus 4 is 12. Is that greater than or equal to 0? Yes. So it does lie there. Girls, let me try another one. Shh. Girls, yeah.
When you say a point outside,
A point outside of, so you can either test between the 2 points or here and there or there.
But it wouldn't be
we worked out that it was between 4 and -1 because we did the
Because we tried a point between them.
because up the top we went 4 minus x whole plus x.
Yes, because we factorized it, put it equal to 0, and we identified the points. So girls, what we do to solve this, we put it equal to 0 first and get our points, and then you test either between the points or a point outside of the points. Yep. Girls, I'll give you another one. Now, girls,
What about 5b?
yeah, just 1 minute. Just look here. Let's say I tried x is 0. Would you get a positive answer under here? You can do this by common sense as well. If x was 0, wouldn't you get 16 minus 0? That's positive. X is 4. 16 minus 16 is 0. Good. X is 5. 16 minus 25. No good. Can you see that x we've just seen can be between 0 and 4? X is -3. 16 minus 9. -3 squared is 9. That works because it's 7, square root of 7. But if you, any values of x that make this negative will not work. Shh. Girls, I know this is tricky, please. And I tell you, year 11 struggle with this a lot.
What year 11 is just
This is in your second topic. It will be in what's called functions. Mathematics. All right, girls, come on. Shh. Hurry up. Girls, you spend a whole lesson just on those anyway. Girls, I need to get another question up.
Miss, can you give me that sheet?
Yeah. Shh. Girls, please. Shh. Now, Shh. I want to change. I need to do 5B. Ladies, please.
It's too much.
Can I?
New page.
Yep. I'm getting rid of this.
Yeah.
5B. Girls, y equals the square root of 16 minus x squared. Shh. If I change the subject of the formula to x, what do I do? How do I change the subject? What's standing in your way here? That square root. So, square both sides. Girls, please.
Miss to square and x squared would be x to the power.
No, you don't square the x.
Oh, yeah, because we just get rid of the square. Sorry.
Shh.
Miss, we didn't even answer the question.
We did.
5A, what are the restrictions of x and y in formula?
Oh, yeah. I haven't. Wait. Shh. Girls, sorry. Give me back my paper. We did the restrictions on x. Girls, the restrictions on x are that x has to lie between -4 and 4. Girls, the other bit's easier. Shh. Where am I? Shh. Girls, restrictions on x is that answer. That's the answer for restrictions on x. I need a pen, girls. They're the restrictions on x. Now, girls, just look at the formula. Tell me about y. It can be what? If this here, girls, can I get, yeah, it's got to be positive. Could y ever be 0? Could you get a 0 for all this? Yes, you can. If x is 4, 16 minus 16 is 0. So, girls, in other words, if you square root something, you're always going to get 0 or a positive number. So, y's got to be greater than or equal to 0. Your answer for y can never be negative because when you square root something, you always get a positive number or 0. So, these are your restrictions. That x has to lie between -4 and 4 because if it's outside of that, you're going to get a negative answer under the square root. And we know we're always going to either get 0 or a positive number when we square root this. So, y will always be 0 or a positive number. So, they're the restrictions on x and y. Have you got that?
There's too much information.
I know. All right, girls, I'm just exposing you to it. I'm exposing you to it, and it's not an easy concept. Maybe. Let me keep going. Can I try a few more? Vanessa, what?
Let's just do B.
Oh,
Let's just do B.
just let me. Can I do a couple more?
Yeah.
You're doing it, but I'm still not getting it.
Well, some people are.
We'll just keep going and
I'm trying a few more. Just let me try a few more, all right? It's new and it's tricky. And a lot of year 11s struggle with it, all right? So it's understandable that you might struggle at first. Just let me do a few more, all right? It says to rearrange the formula so that x is the subject. So you've got y equals the square root of 16 minus x squared. We want to make x the subject, so we'll square both sides. What do we get? Y squared is 16 minus x squared. Let's make x the subject. What are you going to do? X squared over is 16 minus y squared. Girls, I know it's tricky. Girls, if we want to make x the subject, we don't want x being negative, right? Yep. But when you square root something, what do you have to do? Plus or minus. Now, girls, this is almost identical to what we had, but the x's and the y's are changed. It says make x the subject. So part B, 5B said make x the subject. Are the restrictions on the variables the same as what we had before? Girls, you know, look, let's just try some values for y. Could y be 5?
Yes.
Girls, look properly.
5, 16 minus
25 is negative. Could y be 4?
Yes.
Yes.
16 minus 16. Could y be 0?
Yes.
Yes.
Can y be negative 2?
No. Oh, yeah.
16 minus negative 2 squared is 4. Can y be negative 4?
Yeah. So it's the same.
Same as before.
Yeah.
So negative 4 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 4. See, girls, if you chose values like 0, that'll still be positive under there. Does that make sense? If you chose 1 or negative 1. See, 1 and negative 1 give you the same answer because you're doing 1 squared or negative 1 squared. What are we doing? If you did 2 or negative 2, you'd get the same answer and it would be positive. If y was 3 or negative 3, you'd get 16 minus 9 is 7, positive. If y was 4 or negative 4, you'd get 16 minus 16 is 0. But if y was 5 or negative 5, you'd get 16 minus 25 is negative 9. That's not allowed. So girls, I'm really happy for you just to test some values. All right, now, wait. Now, what can x be? Girls, if this bit's always positive or 0, but then you can get plus 0, plus a positive, or minus a positive, x can be anything. Because you've got x is positive, the positive answer, x is negative, the positive answer, x is all real numbers.
Wait, so x is all real numbers because it's got plus.
All real x. You just say all real x. I know this is tricky. I know it's tricky. Girls, please. I know. Girls, I know it's tricky. All right, let's look at, girls, I need you not to talk. Question 6 is another typical one.
We have 4 minutes.
Oh, that's okay. Tell me about, these are the other ones I want to look at.
Are we doing number 1, 5?
1 and 2.
We never finished 13.
X is all real numbers, all real x. No, I've done enough of it. 13b, the other lesson, this exercise is better. That one was so,
This is like a really confusing part.
it is tricky. Girls, when you look at that, y equals 1 on x, are you allowed to do 1 over a positive number? Is that allowed on your calculator? Girls, let's look at what x can be. Girls. Shh. Yeah, obviously, because you can't see. Shh. Girls, let's look at these. Girls, give me some values that x can be. Can it be a positive number?
Yeah.
So if you go 1 divided by 5, does that work? Is it allowed?
Yes.
All right, what about 1 divided by negative 5? Is that allowed on your calculator?
Yes.
What about 1 divided by 0? So girls, we've just seen x can be something positive. It's allowed. So girls, what you do, you say, if x was positive, will it work on my calculator? Yes. If x is negative, will it work on my calculator? Yes. If x is 0, is it allowed on my calculator? No.
What?
Because you can't do 1 divided by 0. You can't divide something by nothing. But you can divide nothing. If I've got nothing and I want to share it with you, that's possible. True.
But if I have something and I have no one to share it with,
Then I can't share it.
In our textbooks, we can't see what the y equals.
All right, just wait.
In our textbook, we
Oh.
can't see the questions properly.
yes, I agree.
What do you mean?
It's everyone.
Like there's just a gap.
All right,
It
all right.
says y equals gap.
All right, yep. Girls, can I go through it? Can I finish this? Can I finish? Girls, so if you were trying different values of x, the only restriction you've got is that you can't put x is 0. So you write all real, oh jeez. So you write all real x, comma, x not equal to 0. All real x, but, you don't have to write but, x cannot equal 0. So you know what your restrictions are, that x cannot equal 0. That's your restriction. As long as you've got that x can't ever be 0, that's enough. Now, girls,
What's the actual way to do it? Or
you just write all real x, comma, x not equal to 0.
like, oh, just like trial and error.
Yeah, what you say is, we need to know if all values of x are allowed. Can you have positive numbers, negative numbers, and 0? So you say positive numbers, of course. 1 divided by something positive is allowed. 1 divided by a negative number is allowed, but 1 divided by 0 is not. Wait. So girls, if you can never divide by 0, you'll never get 0 as an answer. So y will be all real. You could end up with a positive answer for y. If you do 1 divided by a positive, you get a positive. 1 divided by a negative is a negative. You're not allowed to do 1 divided by 0, so you'll never get 0 for an answer for y. If you tried,
Y doesn't equal 0.
so all real y, comma, y not equal to 0.
But
Wait, you don't have to put but. Now, just let's look at this one. Wait. I'm going to get you to do inequalities for homework, for practice. Wait, what about this one? Tell me what can't equal 0. The denominator.
Yeah, because it can't be negative.
X minus 3 can't equal 0. Do you get that?
Yeah, because then you can't divide.
So that means that X can't equal what? Yeah. So that's your restriction. You're allowed all real X. X can't equal 3. Does that make sense? Now, tell me about the Y values. Could you get positive answers here? Girls, again, same thing here. All real Y. Y can never be 0. Do you get that? Yes. All right. The homework is back to your normal textbook. Exercise 4, Year 9, 4. Can you go to 4.5 and 6? I'll just pull it up now. I need to get rid of this. All right. Shh. Year 9 text, 4.5 and 6. It's just revision. I might just get you to do the chapter review, actually. Wait. Shh. Girls, let me find it. Where, can you see? Where does it say?
I'm allowed to be on my bed.
Can someone?
See, you're on my